the sources of Maratha history, and in that we will be starting with Bakhars. And ये फैन से डिस्टर्बेंस तो नहीं आ रहा है किसी को? आवाज क्लियर आ रही है मेरी? नहीं तो फैन बंद कर देता हूँ।
हाँ, आपकी आवाज क्लियर आ रही।
क्लियर आ रही है आलिया?
क्लियर।
हाँ
हाँ, अच्छा, ठीक है। So Bakhar, we have already discussed about Bakhar in the last semester. Bakhar as an important historiography which was written during the period of the Marathas. Now and yesterday I have uploaded written material also. Would you go through that?
No, sir.
Acha. Well, anyway, whatever you remember about Bakhar, just let us try to recollect whatever we remember about Bakhar. Tell me, what is Bakhar?
Sir, Bakhar was written during the period of Marathas.
फैन बंद कर देता हूँ। हाँ, बोलिए, what is Bakhar?
Bakhar was written during the period of Marathas. I think it was the मराठी में उसको अपभ्रंश बोलते हैं, तो आई थिंक वो खबर का वो बखर ऐसे कुछ हुआ था।
हाँ, वेरी राइट। और मीनल वीडियो बंद कर दिया क्या?
नो सर, नाउ आई एम स्टार्टिंग।
हाँ, और एनीथिंग एल्स? Shweta, Smith.
I remember one of the names of the Bakhar, but I don't remember the author. It was like Shetkaranta Bakhar.
Which Bakhar?
Shetkaranta Bakhar. There was this one. I think इसका किसने लिखा था मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा पर।
अच्छा, okay. Anything else? हाँ. Okay, I'll start presentation as well. Well, can you see the PPT?
Not yet, sir.
अभी आई है?
No, sir. Not showing
हाँ
you.
सर, आई है वो।
अभी आई है?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, अभी दिख रही है?
Yes, sir.
PPT दिख रही है? मैं भी दिख रहा हूँ ऊपर में?
Yes.
हाँ, ओके, चलिए।
नहीं सर, आप नहीं दिख रहे ऊपर।
नहीं दिख रहा है इधर कहीं भी?
नहीं,
सिर्फ PPT दिख रहा है? अच्छा, ठीक है, ओके, कोई बात नहीं। आवाज तो आ रही है ना क्लियर?
यस सर।
हाँ, ठीक है। चलिए, as Minal has already told, it is a word which has originated from Arabic word called khabar, and during the Maratha period, as the Maratha Empire started building, they thought of keeping the record, and many Maratha noble, they used to order somebody in their service to write the Bakhar. And that is how this Bakhar, lot of Bakhar literature is being produced. But this Bakhar tradition, it was there even before Shivaji's period as well. But it was Shivaji, and after him, large number of Bakhars were beginning to be written. And what happened is during Mughal period, the Mughals, like yesterday when I was giving you a kind of bird's eye view of the syllabus, I told you that during the Mughal period, what happened is the Maratha. the Maratha, large number of Maratha fort and the Maratha territory was conquered by the Mughal. And as the Maratha territory was conquered by the Mughal, they used to occupy the fort and they used to burn down the record. And as a result, what happened is there had been a huge loss of the historical literature, historical record, and that includes Bakhar as well. Large number of Bakhars were burned down, and that is the reason we don't find any Bakhar of Shivaji's period, because immediately, not immediately, around 10 years after the death of Shivaji, Chhatrapati Shivaji has died in 1680, and in 689 Sambhaji was killed by Aurangzeb, Shivaji's successor, and then later on he conquers Raigad. As the Mughal conquered Raigad, and the Raigad, which was capital of the Marathas, it had a huge record, huge historical literature, and that Raigad was handed over to Siddhis. You remember yesterday we talked about Siddhis?
Yes, sir.
Siddhis of Zanzira, and these Siddhis, they had a kind of hereditary enmity with the Marathas, and as they got hold of this Shivaji's capital, they felt kind of euphoric, and they felt kind of alienated, and they tried to destroy everything that was there on Raigad. So a lot of literature, a lot of Bakhars of Shivaji's period was being destroyed, burned down during the Mughal occupation of Marathas, and that is the reason we find that now, as during the latter phase of Maratha War of Independence. Do you remember phase of Maratha War of Independence?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it was a phase starting from 1681, 1681 to 1707. And during the latter phase of Maratha War of Independence, as the Marathas started consolidating their power and the Mughal were pushed on the back foot. The Marathas, as they were gradually settling down, having a kind of peace, they started writing Bakhars once again, and that is the reason we find lot of Bakhars of Shivaji, but most of them were written after him. All right, am I audible and clear to you?
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, fine. So most of the Bakhars were written now. As I have already told you, the Bakhars were written since from Yadavas period to the early British period. The British, they gradually replace the language of the court with English, but then it took a lot of time. Even after the Marathas were decisively defeated by the British in 1818, the Bakhars continued to be written in Marathi, and then it was very till quite recently, I mean during the colonial period also, some of the Bakhars are written, and most of the Bakhars are written in prose and in Modi. Do you remember Modi? There was a Modi workshop conducted in our department last year. How many of you have attended this Modi workshop?
Sir, Modi is a ancient.
I think it is script something like that. Modi.
Well, I'll show you Modi. How does the Modi look like? Can you see this? This side?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to see these letters?
Yes, sir.
Is it visible to you?
Yes.
I'll bring it closer to the screen. Is it visible? There is some problem?
Yes, sir. It's not visible.
Not visible, na? I think I should change. Is it visible to you now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see these letters this side?
Yes, sir.
So this is Modi. You see,
Yes.
the language Marathi is written in a two way. Devanagari script, and that same Devanagari script is also written in a Modi. Modi is nothing but मोड़ बोलते हैं ना मराठी में, मोड़ शब्द का अर्थ आपको समझ में आता है? क्या होता है मोड़ना?
Yes, sir. तरीका या वे ऑफ रायटिंग.
हाँ, नाही, और मोड का एक बहुत शब्द मराठीत आपण म्हणतो ना, त्याला मोडून टाका. उसको बेंड और ब्रेक, बेंड और ब्रेक है ना, कालीला मोडून टाका. तो उसका मतलब क्या होता है? व्हाट डज दैट मीन? ब्रेक इट. तो यू सी द लेटर्स आर letters are, see, the Modi is written this side, and the normal, the way Marathi is written, the translation is written this side. So if you can, if you are able to see the letters, you can see that the letters are same, but things are that they are been, broken. उसको मोड़ दिया गया है. For example, when the person starts writing from here, just a minute. When the person starts writing from here, he will not lift his pen, but he will go on writing. But you will here, in case after every letter we lift our pen and then write another letter. Are you understanding?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So you see, this is what is called Modi. I mean, once you start, you write the complete word many times, complete sentence. You don't lift your pen, and as a result, what you have to do is you have to bend the letters. And why it could be done? Why it is done like that? Why the Modi is not the same way in which the Marathi is written now? Can you guess? Is there any advantage if you write like this? Start and just go on writing without lifting your pen.
Sir, it's like cursive writing. We don't lift the
Hmm.
pen while we are cursive writing, and
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
So is there any advantage?
Right.
Huh? Tell me. Tell me.
sir,
Writing
fast
speed
लिखना
बढ़ेगी.
होता था.
राइटिंग स्पीड बढ़ जाती है ना. राइटिंग स्पीड बहुत बढ़ जाती है इससे, क्योंकि क्या होता था, बखर जब लिखना है किसी को, तो दैट पर्सन, दैट राइटर हु यूज्ड टू बी इन द कोर्ट ऑफ द मराठा सरदार, ही हैज टू डू वर्क इन द शॉर्ट टाइम. एंड सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज दैट ड्यूरिंग दोज डेज देयर यूज्ड टू बी अ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ पेन. You have to dip it in the ink and then write. You have to dip it in the ink and then write. So if you dip it in the ink, then then you write. So it will take a lot of time. So once you dip it in the ink, dip your nip in the ink, you can just write till the time that ink is over. So it will complete at least maybe one or two words, and that is how it become convenient to write a lot of stuff during the short time. And that is how the Modi script has developed. Even this Modi script, it continued to be used for writing Marathi during the colonial period. A lot of correspondence, official letters are in Marathi Modi. It is written in Marathi, and in fact, after independence and just before independence, there was a lot of discussion going on in Maharashtra whether we should use Modi script or Devanagari script. In fact, Modi is also Devanagari, but the way Devanagari is written now, it is called Balbodh. Balbodh, to distinguish from Modi. Both are Devanagari, but this is a Modi Devanagari and this is a Balbodh Devanagari. Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
Balbodh. So, Bal is a specific letter which you find in Marathi. It is not there in Hindi. Is a specific pronunciation.
No.
Right? For example, Yavatmal. Yavatmal. In Marathi, it is Yavatmal. But in Hindi, we pronounce it is Yavatmal. Bal Gangadhar Tilak. That is in Marathi, but in Hindi, we make it Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Are you understanding, Gada? So similarly, this the way the Devanagari is written in this way, it is called Balbodh and this is called Modi. So we have this. Most of the Bakhars are written in prose and they are written by using the Modi script. Is it clear to you now, Modi script?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us go ahead. Are you able to see me and PPT both now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, the Bakhars are mostly used to describe the bravery of the ancestors and to take inspiration from it. So, it is not a very genuine, a very thought out, very well studied historical record. It is written deliberately with the intention to praise the bravery of the ancestors. So, it cannot be taken as a very reliable record of history. And the Bakharkar generally, when the expert now historian, when they study the Bakhar, they say that Bakharkar usually had a very limited knowledge. For example, a Maratha Bakharkar, if he is in the service of the Maratha Sardar, he will have a very limited knowledge of history, and you generally, as he is employed by his own pattern, he will have an inclination to overly praise the historical person. And these Bakhars are mostly written either what they have seen or it is mostly based on memory. For example, the case of Shivaji, I told you, the Bakhars written by the contemporary of Shivaji was written much after the Shivaji's death. For example, there were people like we will be discussing these two Bakhars mainly. This is called Sabasat Bakar, and this is called Ekkannu Kalmi Bakar, the Bakar with 21 chapters. So these two Bakhars also are considered as a very important sources of Shivaji's Chhatrapati Shivaji's history. And these two Bakhars, the author of this Bakhar, Sabhasad, Krishna Jananda Sabhasad, he has seen Shivaji's period. He had work under the Shivaji's administration, but he has written this Bakhar around 17 years after the death of Shivaji. So though there is a lot of information about Chhatrapati Shivaji's period, you can understand that he was writing based on his memories. Is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So when you
Yes,
write something that is based on memory, it is quite possible that it is likely to have certain error, because what if I have to recollect the things that has happened, let us say 20 years back, 30 years back, it's quite possible that I might forget certain things, or I might reconstruct certain things according to my own convenience, according to my perception. So that is the reason there are a lot of error in the Bakar literature. And sometimes chronology also it gets badly mixed up. It's bound to happen. For example, if I'm writing about the event before 30 years, it's quite possible that I may miss the chronological sequence. I may not exactly remember what happened when. There is a tendency to get mixed up. Causation is also not done. Do you remember causation?
Oh, yes, sir.
The
We did.
We have discussed this in the first semester when
first thing.
when we were discussing about the nature of history. What is causation? Can somebody tell me?
Mm,
Anybody? What is the meaning of causation?
something about the various like causes which led to the events.
Yeah, you see, when we just narrate the event, that is not considered as a very good history. But when we investigate the causes that led to the event, that is called causation. And we don't find a lot of causation done by the Bakar historian. Well, now what were the different kind of bakar. If you remember, it is there on your screen. This we have studied earlier also. Do you remember what are the different kind of bakar?
Yes, you did tell us about that in the first semester.
Right. So can you recollect that quickly, anybody? It is there. Is it visible to you on your screen?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, well, I'll go back to earlier slide. Now recollect, and then we'll go to that slide. Tell me, what are the different kinds of bakars?
So social bhakkar was there.
Okay.
It was something. I don't remember
Depends
the
on
name now.
social.
Okay. Anybody else? Different types of bakars?
Yes, so like social, we can have political as well as economic, administrative workers. Like if they are praising them, then they will consider all the facts which were prevailed that time.
No, Minal, things are getting mixed up. These are the kinds of history, and which is a very latter development. I'll tell you what are the different kinds of bakar now. See,
Okay.
the Bakars, the people who used to write Bakar during those period, this kind of demarcation was not that developed. We don't really have social Bakars. We don't really have. Most of the Bakars are political in nature, but they don't name it as a political, because that kind of putting name on a particular way, the way we study past is quite a latter development after Rankine's period. Most of the workers are political in nature, and they are divided into the different category. Like you have a biographical workers, where one of the character they form. They are the main. Their character, their actions is the main thrust area, is the main subject matter of that Bakar. For example, we have number of Shivaji's Bakar, like this Bakar that I have shown you, Sabasat Bakar and Ekkannu Kalmi Bakar. These both are considered as a biographical Bakar, which gives us a lot of information about Chhatrapati Shivaji. We have Shahu's Bakar, who later on became Chhatrapati. We have Peshwa's Bakhar. Into that category, one particular Peshwa will be the main focus of the Bakar car, the person who writes Bakar. Then, apart from that, used to be some Maratha administrator who were fond of writing. They used to write their own diaries, and it also turns out into the Bakar. This is obviously, if I write about myself, it will become a kind of autobiographical account. So these are called autobiographical Bakar. For example, we have Nana Fadnis, who was a very important person into the latter phase of the Maratha rule. Gangadhar Shastri Patwardhan, Bapu Kano. These are the three important Bakars which are called as an autobiographical Bakars. Then, there are certain Bakars whose focus area used to be the particular family. So they are called Kautumbik Bakar. You understand the meaning of meaning of Kutumba?
Yes,
Marathi?
Yes.
family,
Yes.
family.
Kutumba is a family. So their family Bakars are Kautumbik Bakar. For example, we have Peshwanchi Bakar, where they will talk about the Peshwa's lineage, family, from who were their ancestors, and what are the different chieftains and their activities, their achievements. Then we have a Kayastha Prabhunchi Bakar. We have Bhosle Vanshi Charitam. We have Nagpurkar Bhosleanchi Bakar. Bhosles were the ruler of Nagpur when the Maratha Empire started expanding. And we have the Bakar that gives information about the Nagpurkar Bhosle, that is the ruler of Nagpur. Then there used to be certain event which have a lot of significance in the Maratha history, and those events also used to inspire the Bakharkar to write Bakars. For example, Battle of Panipat. Tell me which Battle of Panipat was important for Marathas in Maratha history?
Third.
Not that much.
Huh? Which one?
Not.
The third one.
The third one. And when it was fought? Which year?
Uh,
1818 something, sir.
no, not
Later,
18.
later. Sorry, sir, later.
1751,
17?
61.
1761 is correct. 1761 is correct. And tell me who were who were the opposite parties? The Maratha.
Ahmad Shah Abdali.
Huh?
Ahmad Shah Abdali.
Ahmad Shah Abdali, very right. Ahmad Shah Abdali was the leader of the Afghan army that invaded India. And who was leading the Maratha army?
Uh,
Nana Sahib.
You are partially right. Nana Sahib was a Peshwa. He was at Pune. He did not go to the battlefield to fight the war. He sent somebody else as a commander. Who was that?
So there was a movie also on this.
There was a
Movie on this.
yes, there was a movie on Panipat. Yeah. Do you remember the name of the Maratha commander?
Ramoji.
No, sir.
No.
No, something else.
It was Nana Sahib's cousin. And huh?
Bala Sahib.
Anybody remember?
It's
Sir,
with
Bala
the
Sahib like something.
Okay.
no.
His name was Bhau Sahib. All right. So
Bhau Sahib.
So he is known as a Bhau Sahib Peshwa. His complete name was Sadashiv Rao Bhau, but in short he was called Bhau Sahib. And then it was a joint command. My voice is breaking.
Yes, sir. It's,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just a minute. Hold on. Something. Hello. Is it clear now?
sir, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Abhi-
So, it was the army, the Maratha army, which went to north and fought in the Battle of Panipat. It had, in fact, jointly commanded. One was Bhau Sahib Peshwa, who was cousin of the Peshwa Nana Sahib, as well as Nana Sahib's eldest son, Vishwas Rao. So this Vishwas Rao was quite young that time. He was only 17 years old. So he used to have a kind of nominal command, and the actual work was done by his uncle, that is Bhau Sahib Peshwa, and they both died in the battle. All right. Well, so this Panipat is a very important event. Well, let us go a little bit to and fro. It will be useful to you when you prepare your competitive examination. Now, as we are talking about Panipat, tell me which were other two battles of Panipat are also famous. There are three important battles of Panipat in the Indian history. apart from this third battle, which was fought in 1761 between Marathas on the one side, led by Bahusaheb Peshwa, and his opponent was Ahmad Shah Abdali, in which the Maratha lost. Apart from this third battle of Panipat, there were two more important battles of Panipat which were fought before this. Can you tell me the year and who were the parties and who came out victorious? Anybody about the first battle of Panipat when it was fought?
Um, so, there was one battle between, sir, the battle between Akbar and Hemu, was that Battle of Panipat or was that different?
Yeah, it is also a battle of Panipat, but which one? Was it a first one or was it a second one?
It
The
is
second
second
one,
one,
I
I think, because first was fought between, I think, Babar and someone else.
Babar and
I don't remember the
okay, Milan,
opponent.
Minal, is it Minal speaking? Because I'm not able to see you guys now as PPT I'm presenting.
Yes, sir. I'm speaking. Minal, Minal.
Yeah, yeah, you are right. The first battle of Panipat was fought. Do you remember year?
It's 1526, I think, because that time only he gained the throne of, he paved the way for Mughal Empire, I think.
Yeah, very right. 1526 is the first battle of Panipat, and it was fought between Babar on the one side and Ibrahim Lodi on the other side.
Ibrahim Lodi,
um,
yeah, sir.
All
Ibrahim
right,
Lodi.
and who lost? You know it probably. It was Ibrahim Lodi who lost the
Ibrahim
battle,
Lodi.
and Babar he became victorious, and he laid the foundation of Mughal Empire in India. So you know the significance of the first battle of Panipat is that it laid the foundation of the Mughal Empire in India. All right,
Mughal Empire. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
and the second battle of Panipat, as yeah, oh, she has already told. Jasmeet has told the second battle of Panipat was fought between Akbar on the one side and Hemu on the other side. So Akbar, everybody know who was Hemu?
Hemu was one of the, was he one of the Rajput kings?
Rajput king. Well, anything else? Anything
No,
else?
was the traitor something? He was planning something.
Well, okay. Hemu was in fact, the commander in chief of the Sur Sultan. All right, there was a sultan called Sher Shah Suri who defeated Humayun and laid the foundation of the Sur dynasty in India. So
Yes, sir.
his successors were ruling, and the Sur kings, they did not prove themselves to be a very capable. But this person, the Hemu, he was not a Rajput king. He was by caste. He was Sunar, the goldsmith. By his own capability, he rose to the very high position in the Sur kingdom, and then he was made as a commander in chief of the Sur army, and he wanted to throw the Mughals out. As there was a kind of anarchy in the Mughal Empire because Humayun had died suddenly in Delhi, and then Akbar, who was only 13 years old, he was in Punjab, and then this Sur commander in chief Hemu, he gathered the huge army. He attacked Delhi. The Mughal commander was driven away, and then he marched towards north. And this both army, the Mughal army, which was very shorter in number, led by Akbar and by Ram Khan, and the Sur army led by Hemu, they fought battle at Panipat. And it was a kind of, if you remember, the doctrine of Cleopatra's nose. Do you remember what is that?
No, sir.
Or
No, sir.
it is just a coincidence? There are certain events in history which happen by coincidence. Hemu had a very greater army. He was a very brave, capable commander, and he was about to win the battle. But suddenly, what happened is an arrow comes and pierces his eye, and that makes him unconscious. He was sitting on his elephant, commanding the army, and because of that arrow which pierces his eye, he become unconscious. He was removed from the elephant, and his soldiers thought that probably Hemu has died, and they started running away. And Bairam Khan, who was a equally very capable commander, he took an advantage of the situation. He brought his army and attacked the Sur army, and they just broke and fled away. They were chased, and large number of them have died. And that is how Akbar became victorious, and he was proclaimed as the emperor. So the importance of second battle of Panipat is that it has strengthened the Mughal Empire. The first battle of Panipat, it has laid the foundation. Second battle of Panipat, it has strengthened the foundation of Mughal Empire, and it was fought in 1556. And the third battle of Panipat has given a very deadly blow to the Marathas. No doubt, Marathas have recovered after that. They still established their control over Delhi after the third battle of Panipat in next 20 years. But nevertheless, it was a very important blow, and that has given space to the British to increase their influence in India. That is how we see battle of important. So this deadly blow to the Marathas in the third battle of Panipat, in which it is believed that nearly 1 lakh Marathas were killed, because Marathas, apart from the fighting soldiers, they had a large number of non-combatant people with them who had gone to northern India for pilgrimage. And that was an extra burden on the Marathas. So this battle of Panipat, the death of nearly 1 lakh Marathas, it has a kind of scar on the Maratha psyche. And that is the reason we find that large number of Maratha people, including even the modern day Maratha historian, they engage with this event. What must have happened? What could be the causes? And the Marathas, who were at the zenith of their power, they were expanding in all the direction, had been defeated so decisively. This was one of the most hotly contested battle in the Indian history. It was fought since morning to till late in the afternoon, leading to the death of large number of people. So this event has inspired lot many people to write bukas as well, and that is the reason we have a number of bukas written on Panipat. Then Battle of Kharda. Kharda is a very important battle in the Maratha history. It is believed to be the last important battle which was fought, I think, in 1790s against the Nizam, when the Marathas have decisively defeated Nizam and re-established their hegemony in the south. So Battle of Kharda is also one of the important events which have inspired the Bakasurite. And Treaty of Basin, Treaty of Basin, it was signed in 1802 with the Britishers by Bajirao II, Bajirao Peshwa II. And this event has made entry of the Britishers into the Maratha Empire. And in that way, it is important because it has gradually made the way of the Britishers to enter into the Maratha Empire and then gradually establish their hegemony, create dissension among the Maratha Sardar, and then later on defeat them. So these three events have inspired a large number of Bakhars. And then apart from that, there is a type of Bakhar which is called Kaifiyat. Kaifiyat, the meaning of Kaifiyat is to give an explanation. So, as I have already just now I told you that Panipat is an event which had inspired lot many people to write Bakhar and investigate the causes behind the defeat of the Marathas. Similarly, in that trend, there is an also tendency to find out who is to be blamed for the defeat of the Maratha. Is it Bhausaheb Peshwa, who was not a very capable commander probably and lost against the Ahmad Shah Abdali, or was it Mallarrao Holkar? The Maratha Confederation was led by Peshwa, but then they had lot many Maratha Sardars who joined this confederation, the Peshwa's forces with their soldiers, and one of them was the Holkar ruler, Mallarrao Holkar of Indore. And then it is believed that it is Mallarrao Holkar who is a person who did not join the battle with the full force. And it was Mallarrao Holkar who is the person who ran away from the battlefield with his soldier. He is the person who ran away first. And that has, weakened the Marathas considerably. And there was a blame on Holkar that you are responsible for the defeat of the Marathas and the death of 1 lakh Marathas. But then Holkar had his own justification. He stated that it was Bhausaheb Peshwa who has given me responsibilities to escort the Maratha royal ladies to the safety. And Bhausaheb has clearly told me that if he sees that the Marathas are being defeated, he should take these women to the safety, because the women, if they fail into the hands of the enemy, they are likely to be dishonored, and which the Marathas wanted it to prevent. So he had his own justification, and then when he gives this justification, of course through his writer, through his Bakharkar, there are two two Bakar on Holkar, which gives the justification, or which tries to to wash away that blemish of being a disloyal to the Maratha cause. That is Holkaranchi Thaili, which was written in 1761 itself. And then later on, as I see this the ghost of Panipat, it keeps haunting the Maratha mind, and we see that there is a Bakar called Holkaranchi Kaifiyat, which was written in 1927, many years after the event of Panipat. But here also, the Holkaranchi Kaifiyat, it tries to give justification that Holkar is not to be blamed for the defeat of the Marathas. Similarly, there is a Bakar called Bhausahebanchi Kaifiyat, which tries to give the explanation how the situation has gradually turned against the Marathas, and Bhausaheb as an individual cannot be blamed for the defeat of the Marathas at Panipat. Similarly, Govind Panta Bundele. See, this Bakar is also written almost 80 years after the event. Govind Panta Bundele was one of the Maratha Sardar who was in the north, and he was given the responsibility of supplying the food material, supplying the corn to the Maratha soldiers. And but then Ahmad Shah Abdali has proved to be a better, more experienced commander than Bhausaheb Peshwa, no doubt about it. He managed to surround Govind Panta Bundele and kill him, and as a result, what happened is the Marathas could not get their food supply. It is stated that the Marathas, when they fought, they were hungry. They had not eaten food for days together, and then instead of dying by hunger, they finally thought that it is better to die in the battlefield fighting against your enemy. Well, so these are the different kind of kaifiyat. You understood now what is the meaning of the kaifiyat, Bakar?
Yes, sir.
That is, it tries to give the explanation. It tries to justify the hero of that Bakar, that they are not altogether wrong. Now, this Bakar literature has also inspired the literature in religion, and we have a kind of Bakar those were not political in matter, but their main content was religion, and that is a Bakar written by one of the disciple of Samartha Ramdas. We'll be speaking about Samartha Ramdas when we'll be talking about the Maharashtra Dharma, concept of Maharashtra Dharma. But he is one of one of the sant of Maharashtra who is believed to have contributed to unite the Marathas. And though it is a bit controversial, it is also believed that he was also a source of inspiration for Chhatrapati Shivaji. He used to guide him. He used to, Chhatrapati Shivaji used to meet him. But it is a bit controversial. There are many people who try to prove that no, Ramdas have nothing to do with Chhatrapati Shivaji's inspiration. Inspiration was his own. And there are some people who wants to give more credit to Ramdas Swami. It could be an area of research, it could be an area of debate, but nevertheless, coming back to our point, there is a Bakar called Samarthanchi Bakar, that is a Bakar of Samartha. Ramdas Swami used to call himself Samartha, capable. And that is written by his disciple. The name of the disciple was Hanumanta Swami. Samartha Ramdas was in a way worshipper of the power. He wanted to make the Maratha youth very strong and united so that they can fight against the army of occupation, that is Adil Shah's army. So Samartha Ramdas, he used to tour around and establish the temples of Hanuman, the very strong god, and that god is considered as a kind of inspiration for the people who want to build their body and who are restless. So his disciple is also named as Hanumanta Swami, named after the god Hanuman. And then this Hanumanta Swami has wrote a Bakar called Samarthanchi Bakar. And this Bakar is written on the Purana style. The content is of having a kind of Puranic style, very pompous language, very elaborate description, and those kind of stuff. Well, so these are the classifications of the Bakars which I have told you, which is dependent on the matter, which is dependent on the subject that it contains, that it deals with. But then depending on the period also, we have a different division. Like there are Bakars, as I told you, Maharashtra even before Shivaji also had some tradition of writing Bakars. So there are Bakars before the period of Shivaji. There are Bakars which are written during Shivaji's period, most of them are lost, as I have already told you. But Chhatrapati Shivaji's period, many times it overlaps till though Chhatrapati Shivaji has died in 1680, his inspiration and his ideals it continued to guide the Marathas for a very long period. And many times the Bakhars written till the time of 1707 are called as a Shivakalin Bakhar. That is the Bakhars of Shivaji's period by the Maratha historian. Because though Sambhaji was a ruler first, then Rajaram was a ruler, then Tarabai was giving the lead to the Marathas. It was Chhatrapati Shivaji's persona, and he was a kind of having a kind of effect on the Maratha psyche. So those Bakhars are many times by the Maratha historian. That can be contested, no doubt about it, but are considered as a Shiv-Kalin Bakar till 1707, and then after 1707 it is considered as a Peshwa's period, because slowly now the first Peshwa, in fact, was made the person who became a kind of founder of the Peshwa's house was made Peshwa in 1713 by Chhatrapati Shahu, Balaji Vishwanath Bhatt. So the Bakhars which were written after that, many times after 1707, are called Bakhars of Peshwa's period. So these are the three classification depending on the time when the Bakhars were written. And Rajwade, he says that from 1566 to 1818, till the time Maratha, in 1818, the Marathas were decisively defeated by the Britishers. 250 Bakhars were written, but near about 60 Bakhars are so far being published. And among the Bakhars which are available, the very old Bakhar is called Shalivansh Bakhar, though it can be contested, but some of the experts says that it was written very long back, around 200 BC. The Marathi we have there is a very different kind of Marathi called Prakrit Marathi. The language always goes on changing. If you read Ganeshwari now, the way Ganeshwara has written, and later on Eknatha has, made a critical studied edition of it, it is very difficult to understand that kind of Marathi which was spoken around 400 years back or 700 years back. So language always goes on changing. So this Shalivansh Bakhar language is quite different. It's called Prakrit. Some people say that it cannot be called Marathi, it has to be called only Prakrut. Some people say that it can be called Prakrut Marathi because Marathi has originated from that Prakrut Marathi. Well, which could be a matter of debate between the linguistic and philologists, but that is considered as to be one of the oldest Bakhar that has been found so far. Number of Bakhars written, but nevertheless, the Bakhar literature has become more polyphonic. I mean, more number of Bakhars were written mostly during the Peshwa's period. And Chhatrapati Shivaji, the Bakhars written before Chhatrapati Shivaji's period are very less in number. And among that, there is a Bakhar. I'll tell you few of the important Bakhars which were written before Chhatrapati Shivaji's period. There is a Bakhar called Mahikavtichi Bakhar. Mahikavti is a region which is known as Mahim now, which is near Mumbai. And this Mahikavtichi Bakhar, it gives information about the history of Konkan from 12th to 15th century. It tells you about the different kind of different rulers that the Konkan region had seen. Then there are two important Bakhar of Yadava's period. Yadava's period is a period of from 12th to 14th century. Mahanubha Bakhar and Hemad Pantanchi Bakhar. Have you ever heard the word Mahanubha?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
it is a kind of religion, something like that.
Yeah, it is a kind of religious reformist movement. It is it is a creed within Hinduism, who don't believe in the caste system, who treats everybody equally. They have a lot of respect for women, and this Mahanubhav have produced a lot of literature. In fact, recently our university has opened a center called Chakradhar Swami Center. And this Chakradhar Swami is considered as a founder of this Mahanubhav Sampradaya. So this Mahanubhav Bakhar is written during the Yadav period. You can understand by the name itself that this Bakhar is the content of this Bakhar is mostly religious. And then there is another Bakhar of this period called Hemad Pantanchi Bakhar. Have you heard the word Hemad Pant anytime?
No, sir.
Well,
But I
anybody?
don't.
Anybody have heard the word Hemad Pant? Well, Hemad Panta was minister of Yadavas. He was minister in the Yadavas kingdom, and he was kind of versatile genius. He was not only a good administrator, but he was a scholar, Brahminical scholar, of course, and he has written a text called Chaturvarga Chintamani, which gives a lot of information about the kind of religious and social condition of Yadavas period. And at the same time, it is believed that he had also developed a peculiar style of the peculiar style of the construction of the temple. That is the reason if you go around, like if you study architecture, you will come across the phrase called Hemadpanthi style temples. So he has developed under him, and obviously he cannot go and construct the temple everywhere. But under him, under his guidance, a kind of style of the temples were developed, which is called Hemadpanthi temples. They have a peculiar style of putting stone over another and then constructing the wall. I'm not very aware of the technicalities of what we can call a Hemadpanthi temple, but nevertheless there is a style called Hemadpanthi. So this Hemadpanta Bakar, the Bakar of Hemadpanta of Yadava's period, is also one of the important Bakar of Bakars that is written before Chhatrapati Shivaji's period. And after establishment of Maratha kingdom, we have many Bakars were written, and Chhatrapati Shivaji is mainly central to the most of the Bakars. Then from 17 to 19th century, there were 7 Bakars written on Chhatrapati Shivaji. So this is a background of the Bakar literature. It had certain lacunas. I told you about the background and all. And now the most important Bakar that gives us information about Chhatrapati Shivaji. Most of the Bakars are not considered very reliable by the people like Rajwade and Jadunath Sarkar. But this is a published version of that Sabhasad Bakar. It is also called Shiv Chhatrapati Charitra, and we'll be discussing at least this Bakar into a little bit of detail, so that we will start in the next class. All right. So
Yes.
Okay, sir.
so far, whatever I told you, do you have any question, anything that you want to say, anything that you want to reflect upon? Tell me. Um,
So can you just repeat the types of bakar in short?
yeah, sure. Sure. Minal, see, there are certain there are Bakars called biographical Bakar, which gives information about it's kind of biography. The main hero, the main central focus of that Bakar will be some particular person, and then there are autobiographical Bakar. There are certain Maratha ruler administrator who have written their own Bakar, which is called autobiographical Bakar. There are certain Bakar which are called Kautumbik Bakar, which tells you about a particular family. Then there are certain events which had inspired the Bakar. So they're like Panipatachi Bakar. Just a minute. Like Panipatachi Bakar. Or Khardechi Bakar, and the Bakar of Basin. So those are the very important event in the Maratha history. And the Bakar inspired by those events all called the Bakar dealing with the specific event. Then there are Bakar which are non-political in character. And for example, Samarthachi Bakar written by Hanumanta Swami, which is mostly having a religious content. So this is the type depending on the content, depending on the thrust area. And then there are Bakars which are divided in according to the times. For example, pre-Chhatrapati Shivaji Bakar, the Bakars of Chhatrapati Shivaji's period, and Shivakalin Bakar. In Marathi, it is called Shivakalin Bakar. And as I have explained to you, generally the Shivakal is considered as a period from 1630, that is Chhatrapati Shivaji's birth, to 1707, till the time Tarabai was giving the lead to the Marathas. And then we have Peshwekalin Bakar, that is a Bakar written during the Peshwa's period. Is that clear, Meenal?
Yes, sir.
Was it asked by Meenal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else?
So, who were the Yadavas?
Yeah, Yadavas were the ruler of Maharashtra, and their capital was at Devgiri, which is renamed as Daulatabad later on by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So they ruled over the very significant portion of southern India. For Maharashtra, and then certain part of southern India for a very long period, and it was Alauddin Khilji who first defeated the Yadavas, and then Alauddin Khilji, he later on started that trend. Then later on, the Mughals, the Delhi Sultan, they started attacking southern India, and it was later on that Yadavas were decisively defeated, and their empire ceased to exist. All right.
I am studying ancient in India right now. So in ancient India, we have 16 Mahajanpadas, out of which one was Yadavas, Yadu
Yadu.
something.
Uh,
So are we related to that clan?
Traditionally, they claim to be the inheritor of that ancient Yadu clan, to which mythologically speaking, Krishna also belong to.
Krishna belong, yes, sir.
But then
Yes.
those things cannot be proved historically, because see, the lineage claim is generally done to bring legitimacy and to gain respect. All right. So we are not sure about it, because though whether those Yadavas of Devgiri were descended of Krishna, it cannot be historically proved. They claim it, so it's okay. For example, Chhatrapati Shivaji, he claim the Bhosla, they claim to be the descendant of Shisodiya rulers of Rajasthan. They claim themselves to be Rajput, but then that is contested by many historians. Many historians say that it cannot be true. They might be claiming to belong to the Rajput clan to bring legitimacy, and that is done. For example, when I was in Tripura, the Devarmas, the king of Tripura, they were believed to be from the tribal stock. The local tribe. Devarma is one of the important tribe in Tripura. But then the Brahmins in their court, they wrote a text called Rajmala, and in that Rajmala, there is a story that during the ancient time, the king Yayati of Hastinapur, he got very angry with his one of the son, and then that son was expelled from his kingdom. That son came to Tripura and laid a foundation. So, they have a connection, the blood connection with the ancient Kshatriya lore. That is how a lot of myths are being brought in. This could be an area of investigation. All right?
Yes.
Well, anything else?
Mm,
Well,